you everybody on the panel. That was so thoughtful and wonderful, and everybody had a decidedly different perspective, which was really great. So let's just open it up then for a general dialogue. I know that one of the things that the Castro Coalition has really been interested in is broadening the dialogue beyond the 10 or so people who regularly meet, and so we'd love to hear your thoughts and questions.
Well, I'm curious, when you got these emails from other places, what kinds of reports you got about the state of gay neighborhoods in other cities?
The report that I got on Detroit was that that they had already lost their neighborhood, and that they were now trying to create some little cobbled together retail zone essentially to try to compensate, which is really kind of sad. The West Hollywood person said that he was sending a letter to the West Hollywood City Council basically saying that they needed to come up with and articulate a plan for how they were going to ensure the longevity of the LGBT community in West Hollywood. Probably misdirected in the sense that probably he and his allies need to come up with a plan and then make them do it. But that was one perspective. We have another person here, Dawn, who flew all the way from New York for this panel. And Dawn is actually, I hate to put you on the spot, but
yeah.
Dawn is actually writing a book on the rise and fall of gay neighborhoods. And do you have other perspective you might want to add in terms of reports you've received?
Yeah.
Or anything else?
Well, okay. A little background. It's interesting. It's not really the rise and fall. It's actually the history of gay neighborhoods. And I do illustrated gay nonfiction entertainment type of oriented books. This is probably the first very serious-minded project I came up with. And what's sort of interesting is that one of the main catalysts came from my frequently visiting Fort Lauderdale. And see, I'm really not good being put on the spot because I get really nervous. But what happened was, as a lot of people here might be aware of, there are a couple pronounced gay things that go on in Fort Lauderdale that are unique to Lauderdale. There's the community of Wilton Manors, which is its own city, but it's considered something of a gay neighborhood, and it's also like an incredibly unattractive neighborhood that's getting prettier, but it may not get too pretty, and it's being overdeveloped very quickly. And then there is the oceanfront gay area in Fort Lauderdale where a couple dozen, I guess you'd call them mainly gay male beachside resorts have popped up in the last 15 years. And about a year ago, because my partner and I go there maybe 2 times a year, I was standing there on the concrete pool deck looking out, you know, past the little, interestingly enough, the foliage that they have to set up for these gay resorts, because what's very interesting about the original resorts is that they were all straight family-owned resorts and the pools were just open to the street, but when they became gay resorts, they put up trees and fences so that people couldn't see in. But anyway, I was standing there about a year ago and I was looking at the construction of, I guess it was the W Hotel or the Trump building that's going up, and suddenly I realized that this sort of idyllic gay utopian area was basically under siege. That even though everybody was saying, oh, you know, it's going to be fine, they're just bringing in all this money and everybody's going to be happy and we're all going to be able to coexist, I realized that what I was doing and what I was doing a couple hours earlier, I probably would not be able to do anymore. And my sort of, I guess my sort of need to go someplace to be, and I don't want to sound discriminatory, but my need to go and be a gay guy and do what a gay guy does was not going to be able to continue in that situation. So I thought to myself, well, I wonder if this is happening in all these other places. And I kind of sort of knew it was anyway, because I live in Manhattan. I live in a neighborhood called Hell's Kitchen, which is, if you read some of this BS hype PR stuff, they keep talking about it as the next gay neighborhood in New York. But the reality of it is that it's as gay as it's going to get. And what it amounts to is what I consider a gay-friendly neighborhood, but it is by no means like what Chelsea was, and of course Chelsea is also mutating, and it certainly isn't the sort of idyllic West Village experience in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So essentially, I was assessing this, all these places that I'd like to go, Provincetown and San Francisco, and suddenly this idea of this book was born, and I thought, well, you know, I wanted to sort of study this a little bit more. And then what's interesting is that now, and hopefully it'll all happen with Abrams is my publisher, there are 12 cities, and the 12 cities are Boston and New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Atlanta, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale, New Orleans, San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Seattle. And what's sort of sad and ironic is that in almost every place except maybe New York and San Francisco, all the rest of these gay neighborhoods are, like you were saying, Detroit, Capitol Hill, and Seattle. When I went to visit a friend of mine who runs a business, you guys might all know it, it's called Ajax 63. They make t-shirts, little gay t-shirts. Well, I shouldn't say gay t-shirts, they appeal to it, the gay market. He said for me to get to Seattle fast and see Capitol Hill fast because it's almost gone. And when my partner and I got there, I've been to Seattle a number of times, and never there for any specific gay reasons except that part of my family lives there. When my partner and I got there a couple of months ago, we couldn't find the gay neighborhood. We were there. We were at Pine and Broadway and Pike and Broadway, and we couldn't find any gay people. I mean, it had become so assimilated so quickly that it's as everyone says, sort of paraphrasing, there was no there anymore. And then that also got me to thinking of the historic aspect of all this too, because and I know the panel had brought this up too, that Capitol Hill was by no means where the first gay presence was in Seattle. That was in Pioneer Square, but that constituted basically an adult entertainment / Skid Row district. So it's just sort of interesting watching this, and that's all I have to say. That in all of these cities, they're all disappearing, if they're not already gone.
So you would say basically that gay neighborhoods do appear to be an endangered
Oh,
species.
they're on the endangered list. Yeah, definitely.
Do you have a follow-up?
I had a follow-up question. It's just about this Octavia market plan. I have a question, a comment. The question is that a done deal? That's how many thousands of units of housing?
Well, not thousands.
Hundreds of
And there might be as many
maybe
as a couple. I mean,
Yeah.
there might be as many as a couple thousand involved.
Is that a done deal? Is it
Well,
too
the
late?
final hearings are underway at the Planning Commission, and then it'll go to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, you know, that happens to be one of the two projects that I'm managing at the planning department. And one of the things that is exciting about the housing is that it legalizes in-law units, and it legalizes putting units in existing buildings without the parking. And so those parking adds a great deal of cost, and it cuts down the amount of housing you could provide. So while the high-rise housing is more towards Market and Van Ness, I don't expect that to be affordable beyond what's required for the inclusionary component. And, you know, if you do a large development, you're required to have a certain percentage that is considered inclusionary affordable housing. But beyond that, I expect that to be pretty expensive housing. But what it does do is it provides opportunity for creative infill and allowing, you couldn't build much of the housing that's in San Francisco now.
Let's go Tommy and Brian, and we're going to go back over here. And
Well,
then
actually, I want to add one
Okay.
more thing. In the plan, there is still conditional use for large projects, and I have heard some sentiment floating around about trying to get that out of the plan. But right now it's in the plan, and it's important that it stay in the plan, because in the conditional use process, the project has to go to the Planning Commission, and the public can negotiate what the project is. So it's extremely important that that stay in the plan, because otherwise neighborhood groups have no leverage at all about what the project ends up being, as long as it complies with the planning code.